I guess the point is this, that we shouldn't be just because we're rationalists and we're skeptics and we believe in empirical principles and we trust in scientific values, doesn't mean that we have to be naive empiricists and believe that all of our beliefs and the basis of our beliefs can itself be rationally warranted and grounded. It's perfectly acceptable to say, hey, you know what? As it turns out, the very basis of rationality is composed of certain assumptions, and those assumptions are not rational themselves. How about that? It would seem to be true, right? So, we don't have to shy away from that and run away from it, and that's not a license to believe any old damn thing, which is what other people are trying to do. They're saying, oh, if you hold certain beliefs, certain fundamental beliefs that are absolutely integral and ingredient in rationality, which we all share, and which we cannot dispose of, right? We simply can't discard these, right? You wouldn't be able to reason without them. There are people out there who will say, well, if there are these fundamental assumptions that we cannot justify and warrant, that really are articles of faith at bottom, then that's a license for me to believe any old damn thing with whatever degree of confidence I want. That's the mistake that people are making, and that's not true. Some beliefs are properly basic beliefs. We cannot revise them. We have no basis on which to revise them. We cannot abandon these assumptions because there's nothing that warrants or even suggests that we ought to. We can't establish that they're true and inerrant, but we have no reason for doubting them. There's no principled reason to doubt them, right? And this is why I was saying you have to have a good reason to doubt something. There's no reason to be suspicious of the general reliability of your senses. No one thinks that their senses are perfectly reliable. We have evidence that our senses sometimes fail us, that our memories sometimes fail us, that our reasoning capacity sometimes fail us. But there's no reason to suspect the systematic deception or unreliability of your cognitive and inferential practices and systems. There's no reason to think that. There's no reason to warrant that kind of doubt. And we don't have to shy away from our cognitive or epistemological limitations. We can admit to them freely. And as rational people and skeptics, we should be the first ones to admit what our epistemological limitations on our knowledge are. And we shouldn't pretend to be able to ground our beliefs absolutely in self-evident truths and other nonsense like that. We can't.
With what you said earlier, Ozzy, would you say that, you know how the precept tries to get you into this circular reasoning regarding your reasoning? Do you find that is valid when they do that? That what they're saying is valid? Because, I mean, I don't know if it is, but if it were, it would still pose a problem to me as far as their circular reasoning up against mine regarding rationality.
Okay, that's a great question. Okay, circular reasoning. What I just described with respect to properly basic beliefs, that is, what I was arguing is that one's trust in one's inferential practices, one's trust in the reliability of one's senses, one's trust in the reliability of one's memory, these are properly basic beliefs. We all take these for granted. These are all pre-theoretical assumptions. We didn't have to learn these things. We weren't taught these things. No one ever taught you to trust your senses or to trust your memory. Okay. Your dog trusts its memory. Your dog trusts its senses, right? This is part of our animal nature. We just do this, okay? It's not a reason to trust it. It's just that we do trust it, okay? These are assumptions. These are presuppositions that we have. We didn't theorize our way to trusting our memory and trusting our senses and trusting our inferential practices and trusting in induction. My dog uses induction, okay? Not consciously, but he applies induction. He learns from experience this way.
Right.
Now, these things are not rationally justifiable or groundable, except on pain of circular argument. So the trick is, don't try to justify them, because you're going to argue in a circle every single time.
Right.
Every time but hang on. So what the presuppositionalist is saying is, you're arguing in a circle. No, only if I'm so foolish as to think that these are not presuppositions. I know they're presuppositions. I know they don't have a rational basis. These are the assumptions that together constitute rationality, but these assumptions are not themselves rationally justifiable, and I don't try to rationally justify them. If I tried, I'd be arguing in a circle. If I tried to do what the presuppositionalists insist one should do, I would be arguing in a circle. I'm not that big a fool. I don't argue in a circle. I don't try to justify them. I understand that these are articles of faith. That's not a license to believe any old damn thing. That's the argument.
The reason I brought that up, sorry.
No, please go ahead. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I answered your question there. Anyway.
Cool. Actually, I'd like to respond to Ozzy's point there as well. Actually, a sec.
Yeah. Go. Yeah.
The reason I brought that up was because Arcane and I actually had conversed on this very issue before, and I brought it up to his attention that he was using circular reasoning, and so he wanted to throw it back on me and talk about how do I justify my my reasoning.
Yeah, you can't question him unless you can justify yours, is what he goes in.
Right, well, when...
It doesn't matter. That's burden shifting. You ask him a question, how do you justify this? He says, well, how would you justify it? Well, it doesn't matter how I justify it or if I can't justify it. You're still left...
right, and I probably didn't answer the correct way, but I did concede that it was circular, my reasoning, but that it's grounded in reality where his was not. It's with his reasoning, it's not with well, I don't even want to get into all that because then I would have to explain.
I can kind of carry on with that thing. What someone like Arcane would then say, Arcane will claim, oh, I can justify my memory. I can justify my reasoning and senses and so forth. My God created them. That's my justification for my senses, my reasoning, and my memory and so forth.
And to add on to this real quick, that's what Eve was saying. He appeals to something outside of reality. That's not outside of his reality. It's just outside of your like the way he's talking.
Yeah, but Arcane will...
Right, but...
Yeah, but it's not demonstrated. It's not demonstrable.
But I get that, and that's fine that he gives himself a justification for those properly basic beliefs. What I'm saying is that just on the idea of something being revealed to you, the personal revelation, that's the issue that I was bringing up.
Yeah. But it's not a justification. It's an account. He's accounting for it. He's saying, this is the story in which my memory, senses, and reasoning came about. This is where they come from. Well, we can say the same thing. They come from evolution.
Yeah, actually it's not a justification. It's an assertion, and it's not demonstrable where you can actually demonstrate your reasoning. You can demonstrate your senses and reasoning.
But it's not justification.
Or at least the effects of it.
But an account means this is where it comes from.
Well, maybe Ozzy, did you hear the question that I asked before you disconnected there?
No, sorry, I disconnected and I lost it. I have no idea what you asked. I have a sense of what you're talking about, but I don't know what your question was specifically.
Maybe I'll just phrase one more time. Is that I don't disagree with anything you say about the fact that me relying on my senses or my memory or anything like that is a properly basic belief that is circular by nature, whatever.
It's not circular. It's only circular if you try to justify it using those processes.
Right. Okay.
Don't try to justify it, and the circle ends. And then they'll say, oh yeah, but then it's unjustified. And the answer is, yep, it's unjustified.
So, okay. I get that. But even if I did plead to the circularity of it, when it comes down to the idea of something being revealed, that is, it's been revealed to me in a way that I can know for certain. Just that statement alone, that if it's circular for me to rely on my senses. Yeah, it's circular for me to rely on my memory. But I can internally kind of verify that to a certain extent. to get to that circularity. But do you even get to a point of circularity with personal revelation if you can't test the mechanism?
You've given up rationality to question him at that point.
No.
If you engage in if you agree to the circularity thing, you're saying that my justification is irrational.
No, I'm not. Okay, I'm not talking about the argument here. I'm actually asking for, I'm not asking how to win an argument. I'm just asking about the idea of someone saying that a personal revelation is that even when someone says personal revelation, it's been revealed to me in a way I can know for certain. Well, it wasn't revealed through your senses. I mean, it wasn't through your memory. I don't know which method it was revealed to you in any way that you could even get to a circular argument to justify it. It's so I don't even know how to explain it. It's that.
I see what you're getting at. Okay, look, what these people are doing when they're asking you to, just how you would justify the reliability of your senses, the reliability of your memory, the reliability of your inferential practices such as induction and deduction and so forth. They want to know on what basis can you trust these faculties that you have. How can you trust these faculties? How do you know that they reliably produce trustworthy information to you? And my view is, well, we don't have a procedure. We absolutely don't. We just trust these procedures as a part of our animal nature. This is just how we are constituted. There is no rational basis on which to justify these. If you try to justify them, you're going to end up using the rational faculties that are themselves in question. You're begging the question. You're arguing in a circle. Cut that out. Okay, so don't do that. Okay, but they think, now I should say, presuppositionalists, proper presuppositionalists who studied philosophy and understand this, don't do this. It was revealed to me in such a way that that I can't be mistaken or that I can be certain. That is something that Saitan Brukenkate just pulled out of his backside and invented one day when someone asked him the same stumping question. Oh yeah, how do you justify what you think you know? And he realized he didn't have an internal procedure that could satisfy it, and so he just said, oh, God just zaps knowledge into my head. Oh, really? That's your reliable procedure? So you think you have a reliable procedure? My question to them is, how do you, without arguing in a circle and assuming your conclusion, how do you establish the reliability of your revelation? Oh, you don't have one. And then they'll say, oh, but couldn't God do that? Yeah, if a God exists, which is what's at issue, and if God isn't deceptive, which is at issue, and if God created you in such a way as to be able to receive divine revelations, and if God is so disposed as to offer divine revelations, if all of that story is true, yeah, then you know what you think you know. If any of that story is true, if all of those elements are in place, then you know what you think you know. I got news for you. That's only an account in name. You have no way of establishing that any of those things are facts. Those are, as someone said here, Eve, I believe it was, said these are mere assertions. This is an account that is simply assertoric. You're merely asserting a story. If this story is true, then I know what I think I know. Well, anyone can invent any old damn story, which, if these conditions happen to behold, if this particular metaphysical picture is true, then I know what I think I know. That's not an epistemology. Okay? That is simply stipulating that I can conceive of conditions which, if they were true, then they would secure my knowledge. I can do that too. As Floyd said, I can posit a world where there are just, as a matter of brute, physical, natural regularities in the world. There exist systems which, through natural selection, produce reliable sense experiences, systems that deliver experiences that systematically covary with changing circumstances. And if that story is true, oh, and by the way, that we have a bit of science to back that up, but you'd have to argue in a circle to justify that. If that story is true, then I know what I think I know. Anybody can invent any old damn story and say that if these conditions hold, right, then I know what I think I know. The question is, do you have a reason to think that your story is true? And they don't. They don't. They're merely positing
that's what they presuppose.
God is the guarantor of their beliefs, but they don't have an argument for it. They just assert it. It's a presupposition. Well, that's not a reason to think that it's true, and anybody can play that game, not only them. It's not like, oh, well, only we can do it by positing a God. Positing a God isn't a better way to do it. In fact, You have to posit a whole universe, which I posit, plus a God for them to do it. I mean,
Right.
so just on Occam's razor, they lose on that one.